start over. So as far as the textbook, it is going to be part of the Canvas shell here. So it's, if you would, an ebook. I did it that way because number one, it is way cheaper, less expensive for you to get it that way. I know that there's a fee that's kind of automatically added on to the tuition of the course, but it's much less expensive than buying the book. I think the book is like over $300 if you would buy it physical, bound together book, hardcover book. Now, if you wanted to have a physical copy, you can get a loose leaf version in the WCTC's bookstore. It is my understanding, see, that at this time they might not have it available, okay? But they should be getting it in. Danny, that's what you said, right?
That's what they told me.
That's what they told you, yeah. And that physical copy, it's a loose leaf, so it's going to be 3-hole punch, but it won't be bound and it won't be like have a cover on it. You'll have to put it in a 3-ring binder. About $40, okay, is what it's been traditionally. So totally up to you. That is an option. You don't have to purchase that, but some people do like to have a physical copy, so that's how you can get that if you so choose. Other things that you're going to want to have, probably a flash drive. Scientific calculator, definitely. Pencil, computer with webcam so that you can do the Zoom meetings and such, and so on. So any questions so far? All right. You know me, you know how to get a hold of me, and that's what we have down here. Fastest way usually is texting. Email gets pushed to me on my phone, but I don't know why I have to. It doesn't always update as quickly, obviously, as text messages. I do, kind of promise you 48 hours, but just in case if I get a text and I'm not able to respond to you right away, and sometimes I forget, just gently remind me and I'm happy to get back to you. I do say I don't guarantee a response on weekends or after 8 o'clock, but I'll get back to you. Don't worry. 8 o'clock, that one I might be sleeping. So well, actually, I have to tell you, this term I do night classes 5 nights a week. So if it is in the evening that you're trying to get a hold of me, it might be that I'm in class actually till about 9:30. Otherwise, during the day, I'll get back to you. The Zoom link. And then office hours are really by appointment, just kind of like normal. We can figure out a time to get together. If you wanted to meet with me outside of class, I'm happy to do that. What you're going to be learning in this class, again, I'm not going to go through and read each one of these, but basically, we're going to be looking at applications of kinematics, and we're going to be adding on things like mass and forces, kind of taking, like I said, kinematics and your calculus-based physics, kind of that next level, okay? It's really a fun course. As I was saying earlier, this is the second time that I'm teaching this class. Last year was the first time, and I really enjoyed it a lot. I think it went really well. I think it's a fun class. There's a lot in it. It's robust, and so I'm hoping that you guys have a nice time with it as well. As far as critical life skills that are going to be addressed in this course, critical thinking, problem solving is the biggest one. And then honestly, time management, self-management, just making sure that we're getting things done and handed in on time and such. As far as program outcomes that are going to be addressed, a lot of applying learning. Like I said, this is really taking kinematics and your calc-based physics and then applying it to concepts that you're going to see in engineering. Again, written, graphical, communication are going to be really important. Any external standards are not, or there aren't any external standards that are going to be applied. And as far as technology skills that you need, you've made it this far in the course, so making sure that you know how to navigate Blackboard. I have no doubt that you know how to do that. Making sure that you can, create files, save them, scan things, upload them, all that kind of stuff is going to be necessary. And then we're going to do a little bit of Excel in here, but it's going to be mostly manual calculations and things that we work on. I don't know, I'm trying to hit the highlights here. If you need any help technologically, especially if you're off campus, make sure that you check out our WCTC service desk. Even if you think, well, this is my own computer, they're not going to be able to help me because it's not a school type of a thing, or it's not school owned. They actually can help you. So if you're having problems, with something, they might not be able to fix it, but they might be able to give you some good things to try to resolve things. Okay. And then their information is here. How will you be graded in this class? So again, these things are going to sound familiar. You're going to have some practice problems to do. Those are going to be the example problems that we do here in class that kind of get you ready for the homework or the application problems. Practice problems are going to be worth 20% of your grade. Application problems are going to be worth 50% of your grade. And then 30% of your grade is going to be exams. The application problems are going to be, like I said, like the homework. It's kind of letting me know that you understand how to do these things, and it's your practice leading into the exams. When we start looking at handing in the practice problems, you get one attempt. Practice problems are going to be, like I said, those example problems we do here in class. We're gonna do them from start to finish. I'm gonna demonstrate exactly what you have to hand in. You get one attempt, and it would be within a 7-day grace period that you have to hand them in. Have to hand them in. After that 7-day grace period expires, I no longer accept those practice problems. Okay. So I mean, I'm not going to say there's not work there to do, but as long as you follow along, you attend class, and we work those problems right here in class, and you get them handed in, you're golden. Okay. I don't maybe want to say it's an easy 20%, but it's 20% that we're doing together. Okay. During class. The application problems, you get 2 attempts to hand those in, and during the 7-day grace period. So there's going to be a due date. You're going to have 7 days additionally to get that that assignment in, and you get 1 time to correct it for the full points back during the grace period. Once that grace period elapses, you will then and there's going to be a late work policy we'll see in a little bit. You'll get a 25% deduction and no opportunities for corrections at that point. Okay. So really by getting it in on time, you're eligible for the A's and the B's on those assignments, if you would. If you wait until after the grace period to hand in, which still is worth your while, the max you can get really is like a C on the application problems. Now, I do have a midterm and a final exam in this course, okay? And those are worth a combined 30%. These are open book, open note, application problems. Well, it says closed book and closed computer, but I didn't update that. When we did the exams last year, I sat in the back of the room, computers were up, and all you could have was the textbook open. Okay, so you can have an open book with it on your computer with only that up. And again, I'll be in the room kind of monitoring that. Those 2 are going to be in-person exams. Okay, so we will know well in advance. Actually, they're on the calendar already, and those are 2 days that you have to be here to take that exam in person. There is only 1 attempt on that, and that's it. Okay, so that's your 30%. The grades are as follow. This is the standard WCTC grading scale. When you can expect feedback, I always say within 2, if you would, business days or school days, but usually I'm back to you sooner than that. If for some reason you don't hear back from me and you need an answer even sooner than 48 hours, don't hesitate to be like, hey, did you see my text? Did you see my email? Something like that. I never intend to ignore anybody, but as you can know, it can happen. Sometimes it gets down on your text messages and such. Also, make sure you let me know, even if you've had me before and you know that you've texted me. I don't know. Sometimes my contacts don't sync, and then all of a sudden, I don't know who you are anymore. So just make sure, hey, this is Tyler. I'm texting you. I have a question, or whatever. That's really helpful. Other policies, attendance policy. Attendance is required and is taken at each one of our classes, and you can be either in person in the classroom and or virtual. Okay, like I said, on Tuesdays, I'm going to be broadcasting live from here, but on Thursdays, I will be live from my home. You can utilize this room or anywhere on campus. If you happen to have a class before this, you'll just have to make sure that you can get into the classroom. So, you can either be in person. Our lecture demos is going to be a time for you to gain understanding of the concepts. During my lectures, I'm going to be doing sample and example problems that are going to mimic the problems that you're going to be doing for your homework. And also, I'm going to be mimicking and giving you formatting of what I'm expecting when you're handing in. So it's really important that you follow those and go through those. Those demonstrations are going to be your practice problems, which you will be handing in again for that 20% of your grade. You can choose to be either virtual via Zoom or in person. So even on Tuesdays, you don't have to be here in person. As you know, you can be virtual as well. So I know there are some people who, prefer that option. So feel free to do that, just like we have been, except when it gets closer to those exams. I'll let you know when you have to come to take those exams in person. If you're unable to attend class, please notify me via email of your absence. Don't text me that you're not going to be here. I mean, you can text me, but follow up with an email. That way, it's kind of like recorded and documented that I've got it, and it's always a place that I can go back to. You never need to let me know why you're not coming. I'm not expecting you to tell me the reason. Just let me know that you're not going to be here, and that's it. Exams will be performed in person. You're required to be here. See the calendar. Okay. There is a School of Applied Technologies attendance policy, and this attendance policy pertains to percentages of the course. So if we go down to the numbers here. Okay. This particular class is a 64-hour class. It's it's not 2 credits, it's 3 credits, but we meet for 8 hours per week. Okay. What ends up happening is after missing 10 hours of instruction, you will lose 1% per hour that you miss. Okay. So for instance, if you're getting 2 full class times that you don't have to attend, but it needs to be an excused absence. Okay. Let me know ahead of time. Don't just not show up. Okay. Otherwise you're going to be losing points for that. So just be aware of that. I'm pretty open. If you let me know ahead of time, for instance, this is the deal. If you let me know ahead of time that you're not going to be here, then my expectation is if you miss, you're going to be watching the videos, to get yourself caught up. So you're kind of making that time up. So excused absences to me, you don't have to worry about getting any deductions of points as long as you're keeping up with the work and you went back and you watched the video. But if you just don't show up, you don't let me know, you're behind on work, you're not keeping up with things, that's when we're probably going to lose some points. Okay. Or we're going to have a discussion. Okay. Late work. Can I submit an assignment after the due date? Yes, you can. Okay. Now, as we know, there's 2 things you're going to be handing in. There's practice problems and there's application problems. Practice problems. Let's talk about those first. Practice problems are the ones that we're going to be doing during class. They're the examples that we work top to bottom. You are going to have a set due date for those and then an additional 7 days to get those in. We call that the 7-day grace period. Okay. Practice problems are only accepted to the end of that 7-day grace period. After that, they go to a 0. When I grade at practice problems, they're either the full points, which is 10 points per problem or per practice problem set, or they're 0. I don't give you a 7. I don't give you a 5, nothing like that. You will only get a 0 or a 10. You get a 10, and I'm kind of looking at it more as you completed it. Okay. I can read it. It's, easy to follow. It's in the formatting that we demonstrated during class, and you've got all of the problems represented. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. If any of the problems are missing, or if I'm noticing you didn't, do all the things that I was expecting you to, then it's just 0. Okay. So it's 10 or 0. You get 1 attempt for those, and you get 1 attempt because I work them in class. Okay. You're getting everything, from me. So that's practice problems. Any questions on that? All right. Application problems. Application problems are actually, they're worth the most for making your grade. They're worth 50% of your grade. The application problems are, I like to say, it's like your homework. It's the end of the chapter, things that I'm assigning to you. Now on those, you're going to get 2 attempts. Okay. Before the 7-day grace period expires. So practice problems and application problems are going to be due on the same date. Okay. But then both of those get a 7-day grace period. The application problems during that 7-day grace period, you can hand it in for full credit. And if any points come off during that 7-day grace period, you can resubmit for the points back one time. Okay. So you can earn those points back. Now, once that 7-day grace period elapses, you're going to have a 20% deduction. I think I said 25 earlier. It's 20% deduction and no corrections after that 7-day grace period. So you can still hand in application problems till the very end of the term, okay? But there is going to be a deduction after that 7-day grace period. So abiding by the 7-day grace period is going to be your best opportunity for as many points as possible. Now, the midterm and the final exams, you get one attempt on each one of those. They're going to be scheduled that's in person here on campus. Only excused absences are considered to be eligible for a makeup. Please try everything you can not to do that, but I understand things come up. But let's deal with that if and when that happens. Makeup exams must be scheduled within 1 week of the exam date at an agreed upon time by the instructor. Okay. So that means that if you miss and you have an excused absence and you can make it up, that's fine. But it's up to you to get the date set within 1 week of when that was. Okay. So for instance, if the exam is on a Thursday, don't try to get with me on Wednesday the following week and be like, when can we do this? Well, we're almost done. Okay. So you have to follow up on that and get that done. I'm not chasing you for a time. I won't. That's on you. Okay. So we got to make sure if that week goes by, then you get a 0 on that exam. Okay. No work will be accepted after the final day of the course. I'm gonna show you what that looks like on the calendar in just a little bit. Any application problems, practice problems, or exams not submitted will be graded out as a 0 and calculated in your final exam. You've seen this statement from me before. Students who attend class on a regular basis, hand in their work by the due dates, earn the highest grades in my classes. Bless you. Not a scientific anything. It's just my observation. All right. So do try to stay on track with all the assignments and the concepts, and you'll do great. Learning environment etiquette. I'm going to let you just kind of glance here. Be ready to work. Webcams. I do, because we have the virtual part of this, please have an opportunity for a webcam. And if you are virtual, I totally welcome that. But it is kind of fun to see people's faces and not just their names. So make sure that you have that available. And it also lets me know that you're on task. It's really not an attendance if you just are here with your name and then you're off doing other things, and that kind of thing. So make sure that you have a webcam available, and then I'll let you know when you can turn it on and off and such. I'm gonna, again, you kind of know my rules. I'm not gonna repeat all those things. Course extensions. There are no extensions after the end date of the course to finish or submit work. Due date extensions, no extensions after that 7-day grace period. So the reason for the 7-day grace period, and I think I've told you this before, inevitably people get to that due date and they're like, can I have a day or two extra to finish this up? And I would always say, yes, you can. But then I have to keep track of who I gave an extension to. All right. And then I'm like, that kind of makes more work for me. All right. So instead of, picking and choosing who can get an extension, or if you ask or if you don't, everybody gets the 7-day grace period. All right. After the 7-day grace period, though, I do not, extend that out. All right. So please do not ask. And I think it has taken care of anybody who's had extensions. If you say to me, it's the 7th day of the 7-day grace period, and you say to me, oh, my internet is out today. It wasn't out all week. All right. So plan ahead. If something's going to go wrong, sometimes it does. All right. And just because you didn't have internet that day does not mean I'm going to give you an extension. Actually, I'm not going to give you an extension. All right. You had 7 days to do it. So in that case, it's not the end of the world. It's not like you're going to, it's going to have a little ding on your grade. If it's practice problems, yep, they'll be to zero. They're only worth 20% of your grade. If it's application problems, you still can hand in for 80%. Okay. So don't worry about that. All right. But you don't want multiples of those. You want those to be the exception, not the rule. All right. Communication outside of class. You can contact me by either emailing me or texting or calling me. Okay. So many people have texted me. I have no problem with that. Again, if it's outside of our class time or even on the weekends, I'm happy to help if I can in the moment. I will try to get back to you as soon as possible and help you if I can, or at least let you know, like, oh, I'll address that in class or something like that. Okay. So don't hesitate to ask for help outside of class. It's totally fine. Cheating. If you're caught cheating in my class using someone else's work, you will be withdrawn immediately and given an F in this class. All right. Believe it or not, it's easier to catch cheating than what you think. Okay. All right. So don't do it. I've caught it over the years sometimes, and I'm really serious about that. I really feel like I try to give you as many opportunities to get things in and not to feel that pressure, especially when we have the 7-day grace period and such. Okay. So usually the reason that people cheat is because they're afraid they're going to, not get points for something. Don't do that. And if you get to the point where you feel like you need to cheat, come and talk to me first. Don't do it. All right. It's such a shame when it happens. So please don't do it. And if I'm catching you cheating, I think I've told you this before too, you're not good at it. All right. So don't do it. Outside of classwork, this course requires students to work in addition to our weekly amount of time together. Okay. What we do here in class, our 8 hours, is not going to be enough for you to complete homework problems in this class. So you can expect anywhere from 2 to 3 hours per hour of class time. And that means that it would be an additional 20 to 30 hours per week, okay, for this class. Do I think that you're going to use that all the time? Some weeks you might. Some weeks you might not. Okay, it kind of depends on where you're at, but you will be working on things outside of the hours that we have assigned. Virtual live Zoom sessions, you must have a webcam on and working to be counted in attendance. So I do like to see that, especially in the beginning. So I appreciate that when you guys do that. And then I kind of give you I'm going to turn my camera off so we have a little bit more room on the screen. So I'll let you know that. And then sometimes I do ask, could you please, turn it back on? Or I might ask if you, have questions or such. And if you're not answering, I'm gonna count you as not here, as an absence, because to me, you're not here. All right. So make sure that you're here and ready to work whenever we're here virtually. I will be recording. As you know, I put the recordings up after that session. Now, because I taught this last year, there are recordings out there from last year. So if you wanted to work ahead, I mean, I've told you this before. I understand, it's Tuesday. Can't wait till Thursday, to really find out what happens next. If you want to go in and check it out, those videos are out there. Also, more practically, if somebody knows they're not going to be here for a class and you want to kind of get ahead on things, those recordings out there are going to mimic exactly what we're going to be doing here this year as well. Or they can be just used for reference as you feel you need to. Check your email daily. All right. I would even say before you come out, especially if you don't have any classes here at WCTC before this course. And the reason being, it's January, it's February, and we might get some weather that I have at times said, hey, I'm going to be virtual today, so that's what we're going to do. If I can catch that ahead of time, I will, like, maybe announce it. If there's a big snowstorm or a blizzard that's being predicted or forecasted, we might be like, hey, Thursday or on Tuesday, we're going to be virtual, but do watch your emails, because that's the only way that I can get a hold of everybody. I would send out an announcement, which does get emailed to you. And then if something does change, that's how we would do it. So I always tell students to make sure that you're watching your email on a daily basis. Where can you get help? Unfortunately, because this is not a gen ed class, there's a, as you've probably noticed for your like calculus classes or physics classes, they do have some great resources tutoring here at WCTC. But unfortunately, dynamics is a program specific course. You really can't go and be like, hey, can you help me with my dynamics homework? But that's what I'm here for. Okay. That's what our lab times are for. So don't hesitate. If you end up having questions on something or you're struggling, on a concept or something, don't hesitate to ask. Don't hesitate to, set up some time with me and we can get together and I can, sit down and explain it with you. A lot of students tend to, go back over the videos and that's helpful as well. You maybe slow things down. So don't let things go until it's too late. But like I said, there really isn't outside of class help besides me. Okay. And I'm happy to help if you need anything. Um, this is just a rough schedule as we see it here. So again, this is my best guess at this time, but we'll see. We'll see. We can always make changes along the way. So any questions policy wise, how you're going to get graded, syllabus, that kind of thing should all sound pretty familiar. Okay. Let's take a peek at our Canvas course. When you come into Canvas, you're going to notice that you have just kind of this generic, welcome. I don't know if you had a chance to look at this, but these are just kind of giving us the times and the places that we're going to be. But let's head over to our modules. When you look at the modules over here, you're going to know that you're going to notice that there are 6 modules, okay? And they should be set up and look pretty familiar. We're going to notice that you're going to start with a learning plan. Here in the learning plan, there's going to be PowerPoint presentations that I'll be using during our lecture demo time. And it also is going to outline the different practice problems that we're going to be doing, as well as what you're going to be submitting, practice problems and application problems. Then you're going to notice as you go down underneath, here are the session recordings. The recordings from this year I'll be populating, but as I said, I taught this class last year as well, and all of my recordings from last year are out here as well. Okay, so if you need to reference those are there. Then you have practice problems and application problems. Again, practice problems are going to be done during class, all right, during our lecture. And those are all going to be listed here. And then the application problems, the homework, usually people like to jump there and know what they're going to be doing. I do caution against doing application problems until we've at least done some of the practice problems so that you know what's expected, okay? Kind of the run of the mill, the things that I've had in the past are going to be pretty familiar, but I go over those formatting things and what's expected for each one during our lecture. So when you see a problem listed here, so for instance, 11-1, the information below is going to be your final answer, as well as maybe any notes about handing it in. Okay, so you'll have the final answer, so you'll know if you went through the process and you got the right answer, then you can move on to the next question. If you don't, even during class time, I'm happy to go over any homework problems that you're struggling with. Okay. So those are there for you. And then you won't see instructor resources, but that format is basically going to be, how we're going to be running through. The midterm is going to be on modules 1 through 3, and the final is going to be on modules 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Calendar, or any questions, first of all, here in Canvas. All right. Let's look at our calendar. So you'll notice here, I kind of have like what modules we're going to be covering, but then also our lecture time and places. So you'll notice on Tuesdays, we're here. On Thursdays, it's going to be, if you would, virtual. All the due dates are going to be on Fridays again. Okay. No other reason than that's kind of my day. All right. I just do it. So remember, after the set due date here, you have, go to our next month, you have a 7-day grace period. So you can pick whenever it's convenient for you to get it in. So if you don't have time to get it in on Friday, you have the weekend and the entire following week to pick when it works out best for you. Okay. So that's the reason for the 7-day grace period because I am just literally picking a day for that reason only. Um, and then as we go through here, I wanted to see the midterm is going to be right now it's scheduled for February 17th. Okay. That is a day that everybody would have to be here in person. Okay. And then the final exam I have scheduled for the 12th. Okay. Now, something that you're going to notice, something I wanted to mention. So all of your application problems, you're going to notice, I'm going to go into it. I'm going to see if it shows it here. Oh, I think if I go into edit, more options, you're going to notice that these problems are going to be available until March 16th, all of the application problems. Okay. March 16th, if we look on our calendar, March 16th is the end of the day on the Monday after our course ends. Okay. After our course ends. The reason I'm doing that is because module 6 here is due on the 11th. Our final exam is on the 12th. It's kind of pushing it. And if you don't have everything done, I think it's kind of unreasonable. 8 weeks is tough. Okay. I'm sure other instructors say the very same thing. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you to hand in the homework all the way through the weekend. And at the end of the day on Monday is the cutoff for everybody. Does that make sense? Okay. Sometimes in the past, if students, even if we ended, for instance, on a Friday, sometimes I've given students through the weekend to get it done. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't I give everybody through the weekend to get it in? And especially since we, when I was planning this out, I'm like, this is getting a little closer than I really like it to. So that's why I'm giving you a little bit of extra time. So I would encourage you to get them done, but sometimes they're not like in hand-in format and they take a little bit longer to get them in. So I want to give you that extra time to do that. Okay. So all of the application problems are actually due on the 16th. It's not a mistake. It's the Monday after our term ends. I have to have grades in, a day or two later. So it still gives me time to do the final grading and all that kind of stuff, but it gives you a little bit of an extra grace period, a little bit of extra breathing room, if you would. Okay. We'll talk about that more as that gets closer, but you will notice that about, how long those things are available to you. So with that, if I go back in to dynamics, are there any questions? Syllabus, Canvas, calendar, policies, anything? Okay. All right. If not, then I'm going to stop our recording here.